In this lecture, we're going to look at the app structure for the project that is generated by Sails 0.12. So in the last lecture, we created this project called Sails Quick Start. And then here's the listing of all the files in this directory. Let's switch to the Finder to see it, visualize it better. So Sails is going to create a package.json because it is a node project. Okay? And then the entry point for the application is this file called app.js. Because Sails uses grunts for some of its tasks related to asset management, there's a grunt file. Now the directories. So we have an API directory that is going to contain directories for the controllers, models, services, and other stuff. Okay? Controller, model, and other stuff like services. We have this assets directory. Assets directory is for like things like images, JavaScript files, and style sheets. We have JS, styles, okay, and images. So we have this tasks directories is mostly for grunt tasks. Okay, you can take a look if you want. Now there's a file called pipeline.js. That's where you're gonna set up your pipeline to inject scripts in your view files. Okay, this is not that useful if you are making an API only without the view. All right, and then we have the directory for the views. By default, it uses EJS, but you can change it to anything you like. For example, Jade, which is now called Pug, and things like that. All right, so layout.ajs is the layout, and then you can inject a page like homepage.ejs in the layout. And these are the 404 and other error pages templates. All right, so this is the structure of the Sails application. So let's open here the text editor. In this case, I'm using Atom to take a look at more closely at the most important parts. So we already had an overview. So mostly you want to see also the config directory I forgot to mention. This directory here is where you're going to do all your configuration, database configuration, environment configuration, middleware, routes, and so on. So inside the configuration here, there's this file called routes.js. This is where you're going to set up your custom routes. All right, config/routes.js. There's also this file called connections.js, very important, so you can set your data sources here. You can define what kind of databases to use. By default, it uses this, what's called an adapter. So Sails has many adapters for different kinds of databases. This is called the Sails disk adapter and is meant for development only. So it's a local disk database. Okay, so config/env is where you set up the environment specific configuration. So typically here, you can choose which connection to use. For example, in development, I could use just a local disk database, but in production, I would use some other database like MySQL or MongoDB or something else. So you can change what kind of database depending on the environment using these files. config/env/development, production, or anything else. You can just create a file here to define your own environment. All right, it doesn't have to be those environments. So these are environment specific files. And there's other files here that also has more configuration. Now going back here, we had an overview. And just going again to the API directory, this is where you're going to see your controllers directory, where all your controllers are going to be. API/models, where all your models are going to be. If you need to set up services, that is helper methods, you can put it in the services directory. There are also other stuff like policies and responses. Alright, so this was an overview of the application structure of a sails.js file project. See you in the next lecture.